Hello everyone, my name is Banjo-Tooie and today I'm going to be doing a Banjo-Tooie All Bosses speedrun. Right now what I'm going to be doing before I start the run is copying what is called a ginger manipulation file. A file that is that starts at the beginning, has nothing done. The only main difference is that when you start the game up, for those who don't know, when you go through the game, there are Jinjos, and each Jinjo is randomized, not in their location, but in their color. So every Jinjo will be there's a bunch of different colors the Jinjos can be, and which colors are in which locations is just random. These files, when you start up the game, there's a set of 30 different patterns, and when you start up the game, the Jinjo pattern's already decided. So by copying the file over and checking it later, you can make sure you know that when you copy it over, you know for a fact that this file will have the set color. I do this in this category specifically. The routing, depending on which Jinjo file you have, the routing could be completely different. So it's very important that you have a certain file and you know the route for that file. The file we're using is called the White C file, which is based on the name in the Google document that the community uses. And it is the most commonly used pattern among a bunch of other categories. And I have very good reason to believe it's the fastest as well. I'm probably explain more later. One thing I will point out though is you see there's a 4 on the timer on the left side. The reason being is that to compensate for the fact that you're using a Jinjo file, we are agreed as a community that we have to add 3.77 or just 4 seconds like I do in order to compensate for you starting with not starting with a fresh file. But anyways, without further ado, let's just get this run going, alright? Start the timer in 3, 2, 1. Alright, to start this run off with, we got a cutscene skip right here. There is a trigger that shows up right around the beginning of the Spiral Mountain. And by ground pounding around that rock formation, you just skip it. If you accidentally hit that formation, or that loading zone, you end up activating a 10-15 second long cutscene, where Klungo over here just tries to run into this doorway. Obviously, it's something you don't want to have to deal with. Don't want to have to deal with 10-15 second time loss right at the start of the run, so best to avoid that if you can. Right here, speaking of Klungo, we have our first Klungo fight. We're going to be fighting Klungo 3 times during this run. Beginning of every phase of Klungo, he'll pull out a potion and eat it. And it'll be one of 3 different colors. Right now we have the red pattern, which makes him grow really big. And it's different every time, it's just dependent on luck. Well, the colors, it's the same 3 colors, but which color is during which phase is different every time. So right now he pulled the red phase, like I mentioned, was growth, where he grows really big and then tries to stomp on you. And there's also the green pattern, green potion, which is invisibility, where he'll turn invisible and just run around. And then there's cloning, where he will just duplicate himself into multiple times. I don't remember off the top of my head which pattern was the fastest, and during which phase, but we will fight all 3 phases during this run. The only thing I'm hoping is that during the second Klungo fight, we won't, or during this, I'm only hoping right now is that we do not fight Klungo, the blue 3, using the blue potion, which means I hope during the second phase we will get blue potion instead of third phase. Reason being is that during the third phase, that ends up causing a lot of lag. If you have to fight him using a blue potion. That is one thing about this game that you will notice is that I will be doing a lot of weird camera turns like I am kind of right now. The reason being is that because this game was made in 2000 for the 64, it pushed the game system to its limit, and because of that, there's a lot of lag. So by turning the camera in certain ways and certain areas, you reduce as much lag as possible. Certain points in the game, there won't be able to be avoiding lag at nearly as much, but we avoid everything we can. This probably should have been a GameCube game, to be honest, because of how late it was in the Nintendo 64 title cycle, but I guess that's neither here nor there. Right now, I'm just doing a bunch of beginning game stuff. You have to get a Jiggy from Jingling. The Jiggy lets you open up the first world. So if those don't know, after this, we're supposed to be opening up, or supposed to head to Bottles in order to open up the path to the next area, Wooded Hollow, which lets us open up the first world, which is the area where we can go to open up the world, first world, and every other world after. But we can skip having to go through Bottles house by doing the White Jinjo house skip. We just run over here. We jump onto this door frame over here, and then jump from here to there by doing the ground pound. And this also leads to Wooded Hollow, and this saves time. Depending on the category, due to a setup of a trick called delayed cutscene warp, which I'll explain later, you sometimes will actually go into Bottles' house. Namely, in 90% they do that. And you use that, because the reason being is because they have an item called zooming goggle, or Maze Gaze goggles, which lets you zoom in, and it's really helpful for that one trick. But we don't end up needing the goggles for the way we're going to be setting up said trick. I'll explain more later, but because of that, we don't have any reason to go into Bottles' house anyways. So anyways, I was mentioning earlier that we come in here to open up our first world. The way Jiggies work in this game is you use Jiggies to open up worlds, and every world has a certain price in order that you need a number of Jiggies you need to get to open up each world. So right here, we're opening up Mayhem Temple, which we need 1 Jiggy for. Glitter Gulch Mine, the next world, needs 4 Jiggies. Witchy World needs 8. Jolly Rogers needs 14. Pterodactyl Land needs 20. And Grunny's Industries needs 28. Hailfire Peaks needs 35. Cloud Cuckoo Land needs 45. I may be wrong with the Hailfire Peaks. I don't remember off the top of my head. But oh no, it was 36 for Hailfire Peaks, not 35. Sorry. Or was it? And Cauldron Keep needs 55 to get into Cauldron Keep, and then 70 to get into the final boss. In this category, one thing that makes this category stand out from every other category in this game is that we only need 45 Jiggies in order to fight all the bosses. As the title of the category says, we need to fight all the bosses. And to fight all the bosses, we only need 45 Jiggies. We will be skipping the 55 and 70 Jors using two different tricks. I will explain those tricks as we get to them, but because we only need to open up the Cloud Cuckoo Land, we can't open up anything, or we do not collect anything in Cloud Cuckoo Land because we can't, and by the time we can collect stuff in Cloud Cuckoo Land, there's no point to collecting anything in there. That's very important to know, especially because we don't collect any Jinjos in Cloud Cuckoo Land. So, because of that, So, the way Jinjos work is you collect a certain amount of Jinjos to complete a family. There are multiple families, and each one is a different color. And each color has a different number of Jinjos. And they will be in every world in this game. And because we don't collect anything in Cloud Cuckoo Land, we can't finish any Jinjo family that has a Jinjo in Cloud Cuckoo Land. So, depending on what pattern Jinjo, as I was mentioning about the manipulation pattern you use, to reiterate what I said earlier about the Jinjo manipulation pattern, depending on what pattern you have in this category, the route can be extremely different because no matter what, you're going to have a certain amount of Jinjo families you can't complete. This pattern I'm using, White Z, is actually very convenient for this category because we end up skipping 4 Jinjo families total. Because there's 4 different colors in that family. Or Jinjo colors in that world. And a lot of the Jinjos we do skip just happen to be extremely slow. We don't collect any Jinjos in the Isle of Hags. We also don't collect any in Spiral Mountain. We don't collect, or the one in Spiral Mountain. We don't collect any in any level past Pterodactyl Land, and even in Pterodactyl Land, we only collect 1 Jinjo. So we skip the 4 families we skip also happen to be the 4 slowest families, or the 4 biggest families, which is red, blue, purple, and black. So that's 6 Jinjos, 7 Jinjos, 8 Jinjos, and 9 Jinjos respectively. So yeah, it's actually really convenient for this route, for this category. Right here, while I was explaining all that, I turned into Mumbo. You use Mumbo to activate these warp pads. Right now, I'm jumping towards the sign. If you jump at the sign, every time you when you go to this nearest sign the first time, it activates a text box automatically. By using Mumbo to jump down to the sign, what will happen is, you're supposed to take damage from the fall, from falling damage, but by utilizing the fact that the text box will appear when you talk to the sign, you can skip that damage animation automatically, which is faster, of course. We came here, though, to activate the Golden Goliath. What we're going to do is kick a rock that has a flight pad under it, and we're going to kick open this door over to the right, and then collect a Jiggy that's inside Jade Snake Grove, which is the area past this door. Fun fact about this whole sequence I've done right here, we can actually skip this Jiggy in this category, because it would be worth doing, because of a trick we'll be doing later on called Glitter Gulch Mine Early, or GGM Early for short. The reason I do not do that skip is we do not skip this Jiggy is because through extensive testing, I've actually found that this Jiggy is still worth getting. Reason being is because we're going to be doing a trip called GGM Early, we're going to want to have 14 Jiggies by the time we exit Glitter Gulch Mine, in order to skip a puzzle trip. So every time as mentioned, we need to open up worlds with a certain amount of Jiggies, and every time we have to open up a world, we have to go all the way back to Wooded Hollow. And by having 14 Jiggies by the time we do our second puzzle trip, that means we can open up Glitter Gulch Mine, Witchy World, and Jolly Roger Lagoon at the same time. And because we have 14 Jiggies, that means basically we have 14 Jiggies out of only the first two worlds. If I skip that Jiggy, we would only have 13, so it means we'd have to get another puzzle trip. And there's no other good alternative Jiggy we can get this early in the game besides the Golden Goliath Jiggy. So even though it's I believe it is the slowest Jiggy in the route, it's still fast enough where it's still worth doing. Alright, so here we're learning Grip Grab. We talked to Jam Jars for moves. Now that we have Grip Grab, we're going to completely avoid using Grip Grab. We do that ground pound near a ledge whenever possible, instead of grip grabbing the ledge, just because the grip grab animation is slower. It takes about 4 or 5 seconds, so you want to skip it whenever possible. Another benefit to the white sea pattern, or any pattern that has a white in Jade Snake Grove, is that whenever you collect Jinjos, there are 2 cutscenes that can play, and will play. Whoops. One is for when you collect your first Jinjo, and another is whenever you finish your first Jinjo family. By collecting the white Jinjo first, the white Jinjo has only 1 Jinjo in the family. By collecting it first, you end up skipping one of those 2 cutscenes, which ends up saving a grand total of 20 seconds, or a little over 20 seconds. So obviously, you want a pattern where you collect it, and route it so you collect a white Jinjo first whenever possible. Here, you're supposed to crawl over to this Jiggy, but by doing a jump and a rat-a-tat wrap, you can just skip all that. And then we Death Warp. You're going to see me using Death Warps a lot. Unlike Kazooie, there is no real punishment, and that you don't really lose anything by dying. You just get sent back to the area, or the start of the area, which is very convenient for runs. Alright, so here we're going to Beak Bomb over to this Jinjo, and we're going to Beak Bomb over to the Jiggy over here on top of the temple, and then we're going to Beak Bomb over the flies, so we're going to shoot them down, because they're really annoying our good friend Volvina over here. We gotta avoid going near Volvina though, because that'll activate a small little text box cutscene. Sometimes these guys are a little tricky in their location. Shoot 4 of them down and get a Jiggy. Now I gotta be careful. We're gonna be crossing the bridge right here. And now each time I shoot down a fly, there are honeycombs. And sometimes those honeycombs will be either a question mark honeycomb or an exclamation point honeycomb. And you want to avoid using those honeycombs, or hitting those honeycombs whenever possible, because they activate their own little cutscene minigame if you talk to them, which takes like a good 5-10 seconds. Alright, we're learning Regal Blaster here, so we can know how to go into first-person mode. And we're going to be entering the first and one of the only 2 areas we'll be using first-person mode in this run. There are 2 other sections we can use first-person mode in, but they're both really slow for this category. They're done in longer categories, but not this one. In fact, I would say this area is a bit slow too. But the simple fact is, we need to fight a boss that's inside of this area, only inside of this area. So, and also we get 2 extra jiggies from it, so it works out in the end. The goal of this minigame area, or this section here, is to collect 20 of these relics. This opens up the path to Target-san, in addition to another jiggy that we were going to be collecting. Sometimes the Moggies like to be in really annoying locations like that. Just try to shoot them down if they are in your way. Alright, so you might have heard a Jinjo cry out for help. I mentioned earlier we're skipping Jinjos that are slow. That one's not necessarily slow, but it's only a few seconds, but at the same time it is one of the color families that we do not need, so we're going to be skipping that Jinjo entirely. Alright, so we're going to go into this doorway first, because there's just a jiggy lying around. Oh, and also I've collected the golden eggs, as you see. These let you shoot eggs really fast. For a limited time, you can shoot eggs really fast by just holding down the button. And in addition, you also have infinite eggs until the timer runs out. So that's really helpful for this boss coming up, especially since we will not be, or we're pretty low on eggs at this point in the game, so. Anyways, so this is the second boss we're going to be fighting, Target-san. The way he works is he's going to be standing on top of a giant totem pole in just a second. And each totem pole has 4 targets. You got to shoot all the targets down, and every time you shoot down a target, a Moggy appears. After the first phase, after every phase, an additional Moggy will appear in addition to the one that just appeared. So right now, 2 are going to appear, the next time 3 are going to appear, and then finally 4 are going to appear. One thing I will note is you might notice the hitboxes for these guys are pretty jank. That's just because there are 64 hitboxes. You can't really expect much from this area. And they also spin depending on which color, they will spin a different direction. So like, you obviously saw the gray ones spin one way, and then the orange ones, or brown ones, spin a different way. Alright, so now all the phases are done. He's going to do one last kamikaze attack to try to attack us. Avoid it best as possible, collect the jiggy. Even if we do get hit, it's just a small time saver, it only does 1 damage, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Alright, so now we collect the jiggy. I try to face down as I collect that jiggy, just to avoid the lag from the explosion. And then we just save and quit out and return to the file. Now we're going to be heading towards Glitter Gulch Mine. We're not going to be opening Glitter Gulch Mine, though, yet. We're just going to be opening it by doing a trick called GGM Early. There is a very small but clippable seam on the side of the entrance to Glitter Gulch Mine. If the path hasn't been opened yet, that you can just ground pound into. So we're gonna be doing that right here. First though, we're gonna be hitting the Sword Pet Silo, because we're gonna be using that in a little bit, or later on. And we're also gonna be talking to Jam Jars to learn Fire Eggs. Fire Eggs are not only necessary to get to Witchy World, they're also pretty useful for a couple of boss fights later in the game. See, he bonked there. That's just something that happens, a random little comedic thing. It's kind of funny casually, but kind of annoying for speedruns. It's a 5-second time loss whenever that happens. I talked to that statue on purpose right off the bat, because it shows off 2 different text boxes. Hold on 1 second. Let me set this up before I explain everything. Sometimes it's kind of a trick, precise ground pound. Right, there we go. Whoops. Alright, so now we did that, grab the shoes. So I was saying about the statue is that when you go to the onto the statue, it activates one of 2 different cutscenes. or it activates 2 text boxes, and it will teleport you back to Jiggy Wiggy's after the second text box. The first text box, it just explains what the stuff does, and afterwards, if you try to activate 2 text boxes one after another, there's an awkward waiting period. So by talking to the statue now, I avoid that stupid waiting period between the text boxes. Alright, so here I activated a switch to open up a path to the waterfall. I have a limited amount of time to get to the waterfall, but before I do go to the waterfall, there is a bunch of stuff I'm going to be getting. As you saw, I collected a bunch of notes, grabbed the yellow Jinjo under the minecart rails, and I'm going to be hitting that warpad, because we're going to be using that warpad later on. It's very tight timing, as you see. I had 1 second remaining. The most I usually can have going out to the waterfall is 3 seconds, so like if I mess up 1 time, it's basically a minute time loss. Here I ground pound, took damage while hitting the floor there, because health management in order to death warp after we collect this next Jiggy in this tunnel. Take damage off the Yeehaw. Do a nice little swim to the end where our Jiggy is. I guess one thing to mention, this swimming seems kind of slow. We will be getting an upgrade in a little bit that'll give us much faster swimming. But that's not until after we learn Bill Drill. And not after, actually it's not, it's after we learn Bill Drill also, but it's not until after we exit this level. Alright, grab this Jiggy, then take your damage. Then we work back we end up heading back to the entrance. Alright, grab the shoes again, grab that warpad, grab this Globo. Globos let us do stuff with both Wumba and Mumbo. They're both magicians. They both do different things. Wumba, unlike Mumbo just goes around and activates warpads, while Wumba over here transforms you, like Mumbo did in the first game. Each world has a different transformation, of course. This world has the detonator. The detonator is very important for this category and for a lot of categories, because it lets you set up a trick called delayed cutscene warp. Delayed cutscene warp the way the delayed cutscene warp works is there is a segment you're supposed to do in order to get a Jiggy using the saucer apparel that's inside of the field depot. We're gonna take damage off this guy because we're gonna death warping after the sequence. So there is a saucer apparel over here is trying to get into Witchy World. So to get him over to Witchy World, you're going to blow up this rock formation over here on this side, Glittergold's Mine side, and then on Witchy World, he's going to be heading in the front of Witchy World, but he can't get to Witchy World yet because the gate is still closed on the other side. So we got to hit the switch in order to activate the gate. So this activates 2 cutscenes, one in Glittergold's Mine, and then the other in Witchy World. So from between the first and second cutscene, it's going to warp you straight from Glittergold's Mine to Witchy World. And that's very important because the game is programmed to warp you from that first cutscene. After that first Glittergold's Mine cutscene plays, the game is programmed to warp you to Witchy World, which is the next cutscene that plays. But it's not just programmed to warp back to Witchy World. It's programmed to warp you back to wherever the next cutscene plays. So if you either reset during the Glittergold's Mine cutscene, part of the cutscene, or store that cutscene so it doesn't play after hitting the switch, and then go watch another cutscene, and then go back into Field Depot, you will warp to wherever that next cutscene is. And we're going to be using that to warp to the final boss. You can use it to warp to pretty much anywhere. Some categories, like I think Cheetah Percent, as well as all Jiggy puzzles, which is a category I've ran before this. And I do have a commentated on my YouTube if you're interested in that. You can warp to use the credits. Hold on a second. Okay, which lets you warp to the room before the final boss, but we're going to be warping to the final boss because unlike those categories, we still need to open up the 70 door. If we warp just to the credits, which is the room before the final boss, we still need to open up the 70 door. Whereas here we don't. Right there, by the way, I did a trick called Detonation Levitation. If you run into the wall and then press A and B really fast, you end up, while the explosion animation is happening, it'll zip you upwards. We use that to grab that Jiggy up there. Alright, so now we're done with Detonator. But yeah, we're gonna be, I'll explain more about that cutscene later, but for now, I'm going to be learning Build Drill over here. Pretty useful move. We're actually be using it right off the bat. And then afterwards, we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be going into the mine entry, over here. Now I should mention that the Jiggy I collected in Jinjo I collected earlier as well as this area I'm gonna go over here, technically are faster to do during because we're gonna be doing 2 trips to Glitter Gulch Mine. Technically, I can't believe I tried that. Technically, this is actually faster to do the 2nd trip of Glitter Gulch Mine, but because we need 14 Jiggies in order to skip a puzzle trip, we need to, we go out of our way to collect slightly in order to collect these Jiggies, so we have 14 Jiggies by the time we leave this level, so we can skip a puzzle trip. It's one of those things that seems slower on the surface, but it ends up saving time in the long run. First, we're gonna go build drill these rocks. And then we're gonna go over here to Generator Cavern. So what you're supposed to do is, you're supposed to hit all these switches like you see there in order to light up the path, so you go all the way to up to the top of this area here to grab the Jiggy. But if you just backflip and then ground pound onto the ladder, you're able to just get enough distance to get onto the ladder, so you can just climb up and grab the Jiggy. You can also use use a clockwork, which we will be learning later in the game to grab it, but we need the Jiggy now, not later, so. Alright, now we're going to Power Hut. You're expected to split up here and then hit a switch over on the right side in order to light up the paths. You hit the switch as Banjo and then come over here as Kazooie to grab the Jiggy, but I have the TV brightness set up so I can see the area pretty well, and I don't even need the pass. I can just use the light bulbs anyways. Alright, now that we're done with this area, we're gonna ground pound onto ground pound as we respawn, grab the ladder, rope, and exit the area. Alright, and so I mentioned here, we're talking to this statue over here, and this will teleport you straight to Jiggy Sample, which is really convenient, because now what we need to do now is open up Glitter Gulch Mine, Witchy World, and Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Alright, one thing about these puzzles is that every puzzle is random in that every piece will start off in a different location, and which pieces need to be put in which spots is random as well. And there's like hundreds upon hundreds of combinations for each single puzzle. So there's not really a way you can practice, you just kind of have to hope for the best. So when I did the Mayhem Temple puzzle, after I watched you saw how there's a bright flash of light, and then a cutscene played where it's going to open up it shows open up in the next area, right? So between the white flash and this cutscene, there is an autosave. So I didn't reset after the Mayhem Temple one, because I was exiting area and going straight to Mayhem Temple right after. But every other time, once I finish all 3 puzzles this time and every other trip I make here, I'm going to reset after the last puzzle I do, once the game autosaves. Just because it's faster to do that in most cases, unless you're going straight back to Wooded Hollow for various reasons. And because we're not actually going to be going back to Wooded Hollow anytime soon, it wouldn't be worth resetting or watching a cutscene and then having to go from here all the way to the warp pad or the silo to Wooded Hollow. Alright, I will mute the mic during some of this downtime because there's nothing else to really explain until the next area. But I will to mention that we are going to be entering Spiral Mountain as well right after this, so that's also another reason why we want to reset. Because once we reset, we're going to spawn right back in, right outside the door of Spiral Mountain. Anyway, so that's really convenient as well. Alright, so after this white light flashes and shows the next cutscene, I will be hitting the reset button. You technically can reset a bit earlier than I do there, but I don't want to risk it, because if I reset too early, then the game doesn't autosave, and then I have to go out of my way to reopen that world, which would be really bad, and I don't want to do that. That's okay with you guys. It only would save like a second or so each time anyways, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Alright, from here we're going straight back into Spiral Mountain. The reason we're going back into Spiral Mountain is because as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be learning double air. We're going to be getting double air and learning how to swim, which also lets us swim faster. Our good pet Royston, pet fish Royston, over here, is trapped under the boulder, so we're going to go free him. The cutscene trigger is still active, so you will see me jumping around that in order to avoid it. So by bringing him back to the water, we will avoid, we will learn double air. Luckily, ground grab, we can grip grab now, so avoiding the cutscene trigger is a little bit easier than it was at the beginning. Alright, so it's unskippable text box, unlike most of the text boxes in this game, but we still are able to, I mean, it's not the biggest, the benefits still outweigh the negatives. It's very helpful for Jolly Roger's Lagoon, especially. That area is almost entirely water. Alright, so now we're done with that. We're going to warp back to Plateau, and then head towards Pine Grove in order to enter Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Or, Witchy World, I'm sorry. And this is the main reason we need fire eggs. Shoot this switch. There's no way to avoid hitting that, going through that doorway, as far as we all know. So we just have to hit the switch in order to get through. It's not the worst thing in the world. Alright, so we're going to skip hitting that silo for now. We're going to be using it later once we exit Witchy World. We're going to grab these notes and then learn grenade eggs, which are very useful because we're going to be we need to blow up a lot of stuff in this game. We're going to actually be using it right when we enter Witchy World as well. Alright, to start this world off, we're going to be hitting this warp pad, and then there's a little electric fence on this left, on our right, that we're going to be hitting. Trying to make sure that we do not see the explosion, just to avoid a slight bit of lag there. Use this springy pad over here to grab these notes. We don't only hit that ladder door just to get the notes, though. We will be going back in there later because there's a Jinjo in that area we need to get. We can only get it as the van as well, which is a transformation in this world. The transformation in this world. It's also the best transformation. I want to grab those gold feathers for later. I'm going out of my way to get those. And we're coming over here now instead of to learn split up skip. The reason why we go out of our way now to get them instead of later is because we're going to be heading to the western zone section of this world. And by doing this now, we only have to do Witchy World or the western zone area in one trick. We're going to blow up this slot machine as well. Because each slot machine, there's 4 slot machines in this world, and each one has a ticket that lets us, as he's explaining, to get into the side of the big Conga's Big Top, which is where we fight Mr. Patch, the boss of this level. Alright, we enter the Crazy Castle area. Now, we don't actually do anything with the Crazy Castle. We're just here to learn Pack Black, which we need in order to open up a pathway to Weldar towards the end, once we get into Grunny's Industries later in the game. It's also useful because it lets us do a double jump when we're Banjo alone as Banjo. But yeah, there are 2 Jiggies in this area. By activating this, opening up the pathway to Crazy Castle, but both of them combined take like 4.5, a little under 5 minutes. So if you do the math, that basically means each Jiggy takes like 2 minutes or we'll add 2 minutes to the timer. Actually, wanted grenade age, but whatever. So in this category, the slowest Jiggy we get is just under a minute and like 26 seconds or so. So anything over that is just not worth doing. Alright. Blow up this, hit this switch 3 times. Once is with grenades, once with ground pound, and once with build drill, or I should say beak buster, but whatever. And opens up the path to the Jiggy. So there is a catches of strength Jinjo that you can jump to, but we're not going to jump to that. But we're going to still do this cool out of bounds at least. And I'm going to mess up the out of bounds. We're going to try it one more time because I want to show it off. You need to make sure, like as you see, I'm jumping and show it off one more time. You're not letting me not do this. You're doing this trick. Alright, by jumping off onto each out of bounds areas have like an invisible timer that activates when you try to jump on it, or like make you slide if you stand on it too long. By jumping on the ledge, jumping off the ledge, and jumping back on, you avoid that timer. So that's what I was doing there. Here we're going to be doing the next part of the setup with the cutscene warp. Very kind of a tight timing, but we're going to basically hit the Witchy World switch using the gondola. We're going to hit the switch, and once the cut hits, right as the switch is hit, we're going to press B to make the gondola transport us back to the western side. And that ends up storing the Boss or Peril cutscene, which ends up being very convenient for delayed cutscene warp routing. Messed it up, it loses like 20 seconds. But now that we did that, once we enter Fuel Depot, we won't be able to activate the next part of the cutscene until we enter Fuel Depot, which we will be doing much later, once we actually need the delayed cutscene warp. But for now, we're going to be entering Womba's hut. She's going to throw her another Globo. I didn't want to actually be in Talon Trot there because of that very slow exit out of Talon Trot, but whatever. We're going to be transforming to the best transformation in the game, the van. This lets us open up pathways, and it also has a fun beat that you can use to play the song of our people. First thing we're going to do, we're going to warp to behind the big top tent, and we're going to be opening up a path to Inferno. So we're going to be coming back there later as Banjo and Kazooie. First, we're going to be grabbing this ticket. So what Van does is indestructible, but it also lets you pay cash to open up, enter certain areas, like right here. And we're going to be also using it to open up certain doors. One of the doors has a treble clef and the other has a Jinjo. Now, fun fact about this is... Oh, you can jump through that before it tries to close its mouth back up again if you're fast enough. But once we go in here, we're going to hit the warp pad and then just warp to the entrance. So about this Jinjo that I've mentioned, if we had a pattern that skips this Jinjo, we would be able to actually probably skip the van. Fortunately, in my opinion at least, we don't end up skipping this Jinjo because the van is my favorite transformation. It would be really sad if we had to skip that route. Whoops. Alright, Jinjo gotten. We're heading back towards the middle area. Turn the camera so we don't get as much lag. Grab these notes, ticket, and we'll grab one more ticket, and then grab the treble clef, and then warp back to Wumba's Deep Transform and say goodbye to our old friend. So I mentioned before about like you turn in cameras for lag and such. If we were running on a 360 version, we wouldn't need to worry about lag at all. There's practically lagless, and also has very fast loading. The thing about that version, though, unfortunately, is that a lot of the glitches are patched. Any glitch that revolves around like hitboxes and such is patched. We're gonna grab this Globo and then detransform. In addition, there's not really any text skip whatsoever, so you end up losing time on both factors, and it ends up weighing it making itself about even or not slower. Anyways, we're done with that. We're gonna be heading to Space Zone, and we're gonna come here to grab some notes as well as the Jinjo that's up here, and also there's a move we're gonna be learning called the AIRBORNE A game that lets us shoot eggs in the air, and we would not be able to fight Patch without this move. So, something I should have also mentioned about the notes is that in this category we were going to be collecting 545 notes in order to learn. That's the most amount of notes we were going to be learning. That's one of the moves we need. That's the amount of notes we need to collect in order to learn all the moves that we need in this category. And depending on what category you're learning, you might learn more or might learn less for what you need. In this category, we only need 525. Alright, so I come over, grab these shoes. To get up to the top of Inferno, you're expected to use Split Up to get to the top. Have Banjo hit a spring shoe switch. And then bring Kazooie over here to run up here and then jump up using that switch. But we don't need to do either of that because we can just get up to the switch that way. Wait. Okay, so I took more damage than I expected. So normally I would just jump and take damage through that, but since I already took some damage there, we're just gonna play a little bit safer. Because otherwise, if I tried to jump there, I would have just died right off the bat. Or try to do like a death damage fall. That's what I meant. Anyways, so we're going to the top of the Dive of Death right now. As you can see, that there's a little bit of a tricky platform right there, type platforming action we got going on. But you just time your jumps right. You can rat-a-tat to the Jiggy and then fall down, which is faster than the alternative, which is like slowly swaddle over and then have to like ground pound or grab the Jiggy or do a backflip. Alright, so now we got the Cave of Horrors. There's a Jinjo inside of here that we need to collect. We gotta be careful. We need to make sure we don't fall into this area, and we don't really want to get hit by the teeth. Well, actually, I do want to get hit by the teeth because I want to go in this area with 2 health. But if I had 2 health, I definitely wouldn't want to get hit by the teeth. Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to come over here and poop on the lock. And then we're going to grab the Jinjo and then Death Orb. And that sends us back to the entrance. And now, from here, we're going to go straight to fight Mr. Patch. Before we do that, though, we're going to be grabbing one last Jinjo. Now to do that, we're going to be running up this tightrope over here. It's kind of an annoying run, because you can see things like that happen. If you have the positioning right, though, it's not the worst thing. Alright. Alright, I got out of Talent Trot on purpose, just so I wouldn't have to fall out of Talent Trot while talking to this guy. Alright, got out of Talent Trot while going through the door. So, now we fight Mr. Patch. Mr. Patch is a boss that can go either really well or really awfully. It's kind of not the timing for, like, you basically are it basically depends on how well you can aim your shots. And there's a certain setup or pattern, or there's a certain method we're going to be using in order to hit these shots. Or there basically is a strategy we have in order to make sure we hit all the shots in a quick manner. As you'll see very soon, once this cutscene's over. Yes, you are very big now. Alright. Over here, hit this red patch. Now, while this cutscene's playing, he's going to run over to right in front of us, and we're going to hit 3 more patches. Or try to, at least. Now, after you hit the first patch, the thing is, a little thing right there comes up from the ground every time you stand on the ground too long, so you gotta be quick about the shots. Come over to this left side, hit these 3 patches here. Let's try to, there we go. So now we're gonna come over here and hit all the patches in the front. Want to make sure we hit some as soon as possible, because if you takes too long to hit them, then he'll just run past you. That was actually a really good fight. I'm amazed. That was probably one of the best fights I've had yet. Probably, maybe. I don't know. I felt like a really good fight. Alright, so now that the Jiggy's collected, we're going to grab the Jiggy, but we're not going to get out of the air. We're going to hit ourselves with a clock or a grenade, and then we're going to flap out. Hold on, I missed the. And we're going to flap up a bunch, and then ground pound, and this way we're just death warp out, which avoids having to just run out and then run to another area, so it's a time saver. Nice. Alright, so now we're out of Witchy World. We're going from here to Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Activate the silo right here. Go back to Plateau. We're going to head towards Clifftop now. To get to Clifftop, we need to split up and activate 2 switches. But before we do that, we're going to grab these notes on top of this little signpost here, or this little gate. I guess that's what it is, a gate. Alright. This is basically a check to make sure you have the moves necessary for the next area, which is actually a really convenient design choice, I guess. A really cool design choice, I guess, that they did. We're going up here to grab these 2 nests under Honeybee's hut, and then hit the other switch, and this opens up the path to the Clifftop. And then we're going to be learning Ice Eggs. Grab these grenade eggs. I like to make sure I have a full stock of grenade eggs before I enter Jolly Rogers. Ice Eggs are pretty useful for a couple of boss fights, as well as they let you freeze some things. That's not strictly necessary for this category, but we will be using it for convenience sake in Jolly Rogers at the very least. We're going to come over here. There's a silo right there, but we're going to actually skip that as well for now, too. Because we're going to be using it later on once we exit Jolly Rogers. Hitting this switch now, just so we can open up the pathway to Hailfire Peaks, which will be entering very late into the game. But we do need to hit that switch eventually, and as far as I know, it's fastest to hit it now. And then we're going to enter in Jolly Rogers. Alright, first thing we do is enter Jollies. We want to go in here. There's a move called Sub-Aqua A-Game that we're going to be learning. And to get to it, we're expected to give Jolly 2 doubloons in order to open up this door, but we can just blow it up. He yells at us, but it's still much faster than going out of our way to grab 2 doubloons and then watching a very slow cutscene with a very slow text box. Alright. Tell us what you got for us, Jam Jars. Alright. Please grab these notes. And then we're gonna come back in there later, but for now we're just gonna head out. Before we move on, we're going to blow up this statue monument over here. That houses a split-up pad. We're going to make sure that we run away quickly while the grenade egg is exploding, so that we don't watch it explode. It's a little bit of a time saver. We grab these doubloons because we need 20 of them to grab a Jiggy. There's 4 doubloons in here. Swim, please. Thank you. 4 doubloons here. Blow ourselves up because it will turn us right around to the other 2 doubloons. And we swim out. And there's a couple more doubloons on these poles, and then there's a bunch of doubloons over there where that little alcove is, as well as the Jinjo. There's a neat way. You're supposed to use speed shoes, which you can only get by paying Glover some of the balloons in order to get them, and then you can run over there and grab the Jinjo. But by using the way the walls are designed to just run and jump and roll over, you can just grab them like that without needing the shoes, which is a small time saver. Alright, so now we're gonna go swim down to Atlantis. And as I mentioned earlier, these ice eggs are very convenient for this shooting down freezing this octopus temporarily. You don't need the ice eggs to get past the octopus, by the way, but it's a lot easier to do so, and it's just a small convenience type thing. Alright, so that Jiggy is in a sea fish. In order to grab that Jiggy, you need a Talon Torpedo. Now, the fun fact about that Jiggy is there are multiple sea fish in this world, and which sea fish will house a Jiggy is random. It'll be in one of 2 locations. One is right where you saw it in the middle of Atlantis, and the other is under Womba's hut. So which one, it's just random, and it really doesn't make that big of a difference which one has the Jiggy. Right here we're learning Talon Torpedo. Pretty useful move. You can grab stuff. You use... Basically, Kazooie branches off from Banjo and then just swim for a temporary amount of time. We use it to grab a bunch of stuff later on. Which you'll actually see very soon. But for now, we're going to head to Seaweed Sanctum. Because we're going to be heading into the Big Fish Cavern in order to blow up the Big Fish teeth. And enter the Big Fish, because there is a Jiggy we can get by doing this. This is kind of far out of the way, somewhat. So it might seem slow, especially since there is a Jinjo in this fish that we do not need to get in this category. So you might be wondering, is this really still worth doing? The answer is absolutely yes. Because of routing, I've looked into timing and such, and just basically the way it's routed, it was just barely slow and fast enough where it was still worth going for. Part of it being because of this specific pattern, while it does skip the Big Fish Jiggy, it doesn't skip this Jiggy, which is, or Jinjo. Because even though we skip the Big Fish Jinjo, we can't skip the Seaweed Sanctum Jinjo. Something I should mention about those seaweed is each one, some of them are enemies and some of them are just background. Which one is which is just random. Sometimes they'll be enemies and sometimes they'll be actual just seaweed. Alright, so I do 4 or 5 breath strokes forward and then use Talon Torpedo. We're going to be heading over to Davy Jones' locker area to hit this warp pad. We're going to hit this box as we hit KOTOR. And because we have that now active now, we do not have to, once we turn into the sub, we have to come back there later as the submarine. So by doing that now, we avoid having to swim all the way over to Davy Jones' locker. Can I please hit this? The fisher teeth are really tricky to get. There we go. Now we do that, we can just enter the fish if it will just let me, thank you. Hitbox is weird. So like I mentioned, there is a big Jinjo inside on the right path, but we're not going to be using it or grabbing it. We're just coming over here to free Maggie. So Maggie's over here trapped in the fish. By talking to her, or them, they will just run out of the mouth, and we will see them later, but not right now. Right now, we're just going to death warp out of this level. Conveniently, because of the way the floor is programmed, it's very bouncy. When you blow yourself up, you don't take... There's no explosion animation that plays with Banjo. So you can just blow yourself up, and there's no invincibility frames either once you get exploded. So you can just kill yourself really fast like that. Alright, so now we're done with that area. We're going to come back there later, but for now, we need to head to Pine Grove. And the reason being is we need to learn Clockworks. So we only need Clockworks for one Jiggy in Jolly Rogers. And that also seems like it might be a slow Jiggy, but it was also just barely fast enough for still worth getting. We will be using Clockworks a lot later on in this run. But for now, we're only going to be using it for this one world, Jiggy in this world. Alright, so we hit the Talon Torpedo, use Talon Torpedo to hit that rock in order to open its pathway to Klungo 2. Second of Klungo fights. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're hoping this will be... We had red first. We're hoping this will be blue. Because otherwise, Klungo 3 is going to be really laggy. But it's basically going to be down to chance. So either we're going to get green now, or we're going to get blue now. And we will see. We got blue. Okay, that's good. Cool. So blue is duplication, who clone himself multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First phase he does clones himself once, second he clones himself twice, then the last phase he clones himself 3 times. 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so here we're gonna wait. Alright. Convenient. It's especially helpful to have blue the second phase, just because you can aim at him really easily now that I have a game. Either way. He's gonna do a bit of a push. And sometimes they'll even get a decent push too, which is nice. Depending on where you stand. Alright, now we're done with that. We're gonna be learning Clockworks right here. This is the game's one of the biggest game-breaking glitch. We're gonna be using this for a lot of glitches. It's a pretty game-breaking move, as you will see much later. We're gonna grab these 2 note nests now. There are a Jinjo and a Minjo there, but we don't need to collect that Jinjo at all. It's, I believe, a black Jinjo. I don't remember off the top of my head. We'll work back to Clifftop, head to Jolly Rogers. To our next segment. There is also a Jinjo on the top of that, those feet right there, but we don't need to get it. Grab these grenade eggs because we are horrendously low. And then head to Jolly's. Now we just need to talk to Jolly here, and then he will give us a Jiggy for freeing Maggie from their fishy prison. And once we grab the Jiggy, we're going to go into first-person mode here and shoot a grenade through the door frame. That opens up a pathway to Smuggler's Cabin, which is where our next Jiggy will be, or which is where the Jiggy we need the Clockworks for will be. And we'll be going there as Solo Kazooie in just a minute. We're gonna be splitting up right here. But before we go over to that area, we're actually going to be come over here to do some doubloon collection. Grab these. grab the 4 in here. Seems kind of ridiculous to have to come in here just for these 4 node doubloons, but from my timing and testing, and they're the best node doubloons for this area. There are doubloons near a move that we could learn called Wing Whack, but it would take we don't need Wing Whack at all in this category, and getting the Wing Whack would cost like 20 plus seconds, so yeah. Go into Blubbers, grab this Jinjo, hurt ourselves, grab these notes, hurt ourselves again. Alright. And now we're done with this area, that area. We're gonna go head to Smuggler's Cavern. Whoops. This is the pathway we opened. I'm gonna try to hurt myself as I'm going down these stairs over here. Whoops. It was supposed to like hit me back into the loading zone, this area. Alright, so Smuggler's Cavern. We're supposed to use Glide in order to glide to the Jiggy, but if you ever do a well-placed Clockwork Shot, a little too close. A little too close. What the hell? Wow. Alright, that should be fine. Alright, and then we bring the Clockwork over back to Kazooie, blow ourselves up. Yeah, using Clockwork so you can just grab the Jiggy easily. I don't blow up the Clockwork immediately after using it there, just because I still have to Death Warp as Kazooie. And if I were to blow up the Clockwork there, I'd have to watch the explosion animation, as well as do an additional grenade shot to hit myself with, which is not really what I want to do. Alright. Alright. We use the 20 balloons we collected to open that Jiggy. And grab these, all that, grab the Jiggy, and then head out. So I should mention that you can actually grab, he'll have a Cheeto page there afterwards, and you can like do a taxi pack grab in order to grab the Jinjo, like flip through the blast zone in order to grab that Cheeto page, but it doesn't work for the Jiggy, just because the Jiggy isn't technically there. Anyway, so now we're in Atlantis. We're going to be using Talon Torpedo to grab this Jiggy, and then we're going to be using Talon Torpedo again in order to grab the treble cleft over here, and then there's also a Jinjo chest inside of a ship on the other side of this octopus. Now, we don't grab all with one Talon Torpedo, just because there is a Jinjo chest, as you see right over here, and once you have to break open the Jinjo chest and then grab the Jinjo right after. And if you break open the chest but don't grab the Jinjo right after, before the timer runs out for the Talon Torpedo, the Jinjo will despawn. Either that or just fall into the bottom of the world. But regardless, the Jinjo will not be there until you either Death Warp or save and quit out or leave the level somehow. So we don't want to take that risk. Especially since also that Jinjo box is in a different location. It can be in a set of any one of 4 Jinjo locations, so it's not worth the risk to save like a second when it can lose like minutes. Alright, so now that we are in Wombas again, we're going to transform into the sub. Now, I went to grab those stuff now with Talon before I turned into the sub with Talon Torpedo, just so I don't have to swim over to that area as the sub. I'm just going to be using the warp pad right near the entrance of Atlantis, or the entrance of Wombas, just to warp straight to the Locker Cavern. I somehow got caught into the wall there. Alright. More Cavern. Now the Locker, this fight has a huge amount of RNG in it. And it also, which Locker has the fight in is random too, fun fact. So, there are many Jinjos, or all those Lockers, which one will have this fight will be random. But also, with this fight, in the first phase, we have 6 different boils that we have to hit, and only one of them will light up at the time. And which one lights up is random, so it'll just, like, you can either get really good luck where it'll light up right here, or, like, you sometimes have to, like, alternate back and forth multiple times. depending on what this luck decides to be, and it's kind of really annoying. Oh, whoops, I messed up. Ah, I had it in a decent position, too. Alright. I didn't see that one light up as the thing. It's funny, because that was actually pretty decent luck. This is actually really good luck. Wow. Alright, I messed up the beginning, but otherwise that was insanely good luck. Alright, so now he opens up his eyes, because he was actually blind, not blind this whole time. Amazing. So you just shoot his eyes 6 times. Now the fun thing about this phase is that at certain points of the phase, I just keep shooting and then taking hits. Because if you do this, he'll just continue to take damage. And you have enough health to tank all this, so it's not a big deal. One more hit. And then he's done. Drop that Jiggy. Once we grab the Jiggy, we'll just save and quit out, and then head to our next destination. Alright, speaking of luck, we got another cute, fun bout of luck coming up. So for this, first off, I will mention this in what I mean in a bit, but for now, we're just gonna grab this treble clef with the clockwork here. Reason being is it's faster to grab that with the clockwork than it is to just run up and flap up there, up to the top of the roof by like a 3-4 seconds. Alright, we're going back to Mayhem Temple, and we're going to be heading to this area called Prison Compound. Now, Prison Compound, well, we needed grenades first off in order to open, or we could have kicked open the door, but it's faster to do this in another trip, just because we also can use clockworks to grab a bunch of stuff now. But the fun thing about this area is there's a prison compound code doorway that we need to open up, and it only opens up by entering a set of codes. Now the code that we need to enter in is between a random set of 3 different possible codes, and you don't know. The only way to find out which code is the right code is either by A, guessing the correct pattern. Come on. Or B, talking to a Stony that's on the left side of the entrance to Prison Compound, which means you have to transform the into Stony. Whoops. And then drive the Stony all the way over here in order to learn the code. So it's obviously better off guessing. The only thing is, depending on what you guess, if you get the worst luck, it loses like a good 20+ seconds overall. Alright, we use the clockwork here to grab this Jiggy, save like a few seconds. So this way we don't have to run back and jump into the thing. Ideally, we want to get here before we run out of fuel, so we don't get pushed back. We just barely dodge taking damage, because otherwise the thing would be eating us. And then it would have sent us to the middle, which would have been slow to have to watch. Alright, that's the first pattern. Let's see. We get second try. Nope. Wait, did I only enter that star once? I might have actually screwed up the second code. Okay, we're fine regardless. Doesn't matter, we got the third try. Also another fun little bit of code luck. Depending on where Dilberta is running, she'll run in the circles. She can either A, talk to you while you're trying to run to the ground rock where the rock is, and B, also, depending on where she's in the cycle, when you break open the rock, she could take longer to get to where activate the cutscene where she runs in. So that's another fun spout of luck right there. Alright. Now we're back in Griller Gulch Mine. We're going to grab these notes here, over there, and then we're going to go enter Mumbo's. We need Mumbo in order to activate the train, which we need to activate in order to fight Old King Cole, which is another boss we have to fight. So, a fun thing about Mumbo's hut, after you talk to Mumbo once, when you talk to Mumbo the first time, you have to go to the top floor, no matter what. But after talking to him once, you can actually talk to him from the bottom floor, because for some reason when he's sitting on the chair, the cutscene hitbox extends to the bottom of the floor. So if you just stand on the right start spot and press B, you can just talk to him, which avoids having to watch or run all the way up and down the staircase. It's not the biggest time save, but it's still a little bit of a time save. Alright, so we're gonna come over here, take some damage. Over here, grab some eggs as well. For later. Get hit by that guy a couple times, then we're gonna activate the train. Now this is a longish cutscene, so I'm gonna mute my mic temporarily until the cutscene ends. Alright, now that we did that, we're going to take another hit and Death Warp back. Mumbo is pretty slow, so having this is absolutely faster, because it's just going to warp us straight past back to the Mumbo and this avoids having to run all the way back to the warp pad and then warp back to Mumbo's. Alright, now we're done with that. We're gonna head to the train station now and fight Old King Cole. But before we do that, we have one last ginger we do need to collect under this rock. I'm gonna be doing something we call an egg barge in order to grab it. By shooting an egg and then doing the beak barge, the hitbox for the beak barge extends farther than it would if you just did a beak barge. And then the hitbox is just big enough where you can grab stuff under certain rocks, such as there where I grabbed that Jinjo. It's a small time saver, but it's still a bit of a time saver, and it's definitely cool, fun to see. Because then you avoid having to watch the build drill animation, as well as the lag that creates. Okay, so Alright, so Old King Cole is very, very weak to ice eggs. This is one of the major reasons why you'd want ice eggs for this category. Because it does 5 hits each time you hit him, or 5 damage each time you hit him. Whoops, apparently didn't hit. Alright, it's fine. I try to take damage from his underside while I'm shooting pooping eggs there at the beginning. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I don't know why, really. So he's down. We're gonna grab this Jiggy over here, and then the reason why I was purposely trying to get myself down to 1 health is because I'm gonna Death Warp right out of here afterwards. Not try to get out of Talent Trial while I'm doing that. Okay. Apparently likes to miss this shot, but whatever, it's fine. Alright, now we're done with that area. We're gonna warp back to Mayhem Temple and then exit the air level. And we're gonna do our next puzzle trip right after. So this is what I refer to as the intermission point of the run. There is a good 5-minute sequence where all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be opening up 2 worlds, Pterodactyl Land and Grunny's Industries, and then I'm going to be watching the Hag 1 cutscene minute 1.5 times. The reason why I'm watching Hag 1 1.5 times is I'm going to go into the boss replay menu in order to watch the Hag 1 cutscene. This is the final part of the delayed cutscene warp setup, where I watch the cutscene before I enter Fuel Depot, which lets me warp to anywhere. And in this case, I'm going to be watching the long Hag 1 cutscene, because that's the only way to be able to warp to the final boss. It's gonna take like a good 1.5 to 2 minutes just to do that on its own. So that seems long, but the alternative, if I didn't do that, I'd have to collect an additional, like, 35 jiggies, or, wait, 25 jiggies, I'm sorry. Wait, yeah. 50. Yeah, 25 jiggies. I'd have to collect an additional 25 jiggies in order to open up path to the final boss. So, obviously, that's not ideal. It goes without saying it's not ideal. In addition, I would have to, yeah, you get the idea. So as long as it may seem, it's a lot faster than an alternative. Much, much faster. During this period, I will be muting the mic. During Marathon Submission, because this is a Marathon Submission VOD, I will mention, though, before I mute my mic for the few minutes, that this is the perfect time, probably, for a ton of donations. Very big chunk of time for donations. Any of these puzzle trips are a good time for donations, honestly. But anyways, yeah, I will unmute my mic in a bit. Alright, so as I mentioned earlier, after every cutscene, or every puzzle trip I do, I reset at the end of it, from now until the end of the game. And then we're going to go into the boss replay menu and watch the Hag 1 cutscene. Now, the thing about this cutscene, the thing about this is it may seem weird that we're going into the boss replay menu to fight, or where we fight Grunny, and then watch the cutscene. You may be wondering, well, doesn't this just send you to... Wouldn't this just send you to the boss replay menu? The answer is no. It actually sends you into the boss itself in the file. And when I beat Grunny, it will register that I beat the boss. So if I try to go back to the Tower Tragedy and everything to where Hag 1 would be, she won't be there. So... yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna mute my mic again. Enjoy the cutscenes. Actually, I'm gonna unmute my mic because I just remembered something important that you might be wondering. Why am I fighting Hag 1 now in all bosses instead of at the end? Basically, it's faster. At the end of the game, I had the choice of either fighting Hag-1 for last or Minjijongo last. But I found basically the time ends when you hit do the last hit on the last boss, correct? I found that the way it would work is if I were to do Minjijongo not last, I'd have to go straight from Minjijongo to Hag-1, and exiting out of Minjijongo from the Minjijongo, then saving quitting after Minjijongo, then going to the menu and all that, would be slower than what happens once you beat Hag-1, where it immediately just shows you cutscenes you can skip, then sends you straight to the main menu. It's a good 10 seconds faster to do Hag-1 sometime other than last, and this just happens to be the best location, the best time for me to do Hag-1. Another good benefit is that I'm kind of in need of eggs right now anyways, so by doing this stuff now, I can do some much needed egg collection. Alright, enter Clear Gulch Mine, and then we're gonna go enter Hag-1. Alright, so I'm actually pretty good with clockworks for once. I am gonna need, though, what was I saying? I am, however, going to need some more ice eggs, and I probably will try to restock my grenades too at some point. During this fight, we will need ice eggs the most for most of the phases. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time collecting ice eggs to make sure I have enough. Normally we'd be lower on eggs, but I did go out of my way to collect some eggs that I probably shouldn't have needed to, honestly. So yeah, first priority is definitely the ice eggs. Oops. Alright, so the first phase, she just spins around and tries to hit you with her lasers. I'm dumb and got hit twice. I shouldn't need to. After every phase where she's doing something, she will ask a quiz question, and then we will go into the first-person segment where we can just shoot her immediately. Up until like we do 10 health worth of damage to her, and then it will revert to the next section where she's going to be spinning around, but now with 4 lasers. Try to collect some health because obviously I don't want to die. Because if I die here, it's GG. But there's really barely any risk of dying. It's not that hard to fight once you know what you're doing. Alright, so next phase, she's gonna try to shoot us with bombs. Or with, rockets, I guess. Mortar cannon, I'm sorry. She's gonna start with one mortar cannon. We're gonna go up, what we're gonna do, dodge this cannon, just go up to the top of her drill, wait till she shoots 4 times, and then drop off. You could actually shoot her from the drill, and we used to do that in speedruns way back in the day, like 5 years ago at this point. But it was discovered that because of lag, it's actually slower to stand on the drill and shoot her with ice eggs. It's also good that way because it's actually really risky to do too. Because once you'd be shooting at her every phase until you're done with this phase, and you'd be down to 1 health. And if you mess up 1 shot, it's basically GG. Whoops, I miscounted. But yeah, I stand up at the top of the drill and look up just to reduce lag, by the way. That's the reason why I go up there, because those are quite a bit of lag. Alright, next phase, she takes out her cannons for whatever reason, but then remembers that she can drive. So now she's going to hit us with lasers on the corners of her vehicle while trying to drill us at the same time. So we just wait around an extended period of time, use the opportunity to collect some ice eggs, and also I'm probably going to spend more time now collecting some clockworks, because I do want to make sure I have enough to collect all the clockworks I can. I need to use 2 clockworks during this fight total. So I'm gonna try to collect another one after this phase. Also, I'm gonna use the opportunity to collect a blue egg nest because we will be using blue eggs to the net towards the end. We don't need that many, but the more the merrier, because I'm just gonna be spamming the blue eggs, and you will see in a moment. All right, so after that, we shoot her, take her down 10 health. She stalls for a little bit because her button is jammed, and in the meantime, we're going to be blowing up her batteries. Now, I don't go straight near the batteries, and I also turn away from the batteries while I explode myself with a clockwork, just to reduce lag, so we don't have to watch the explosion animation. One thing I will mention is that you do want to make sure that she is towards the edge during the second phase, because if she's in the middle, it'll cause more lag. From what I understand. Alright, is there anything else I really want to have? I guess just another ice egg won't hurt. Well, I guess there's going to be more lag. Not the end of the world, to be honest. Alright, so luckily I can still shoot a clockwork from all the way over here. It's gotta be quick. There's a limited amount of time you can shoot a clockwork where she will actually just start her engine up again, and that will cost another, 30 seconds, where she just drives around for a bit again. Alright, so now that we blow up both batteries, her vehicle is stalled and she can't drive anymore. So now she's just going to have to throw lasers at us, or throw her magic at us now. We don't really collect eggs after this because we're going to be in first-person mode at this rest of this level, and we can hit her at all the time now. So having to go out of the way to collect eggs would be slow. It's fine. We also switch between regular eggs or ice eggs to blue eggs, because the way this phase works is that first, when you shoot blue eggs, if you just mash the button, it does a lot of damage. But also, for some reason, I guess because during the second, third, the last phase, that phase I had to bring her down to 15 health, and then I'm going to bring her down to 1 health here, so it just ends up working out that it's faster to do it this way. Zoom up. Oh, I missed that shot. There we go. Missed the first shot, but we got the second time. So that one was just, she's just going to throw lasers until we hit her one last time. Purple laser, homing lasers, I should say. But yeah, that second to last phase, she was trying to poison us, but it didn't work, and then she stopped for whatever reason. Alright, so now that we're done with that, now we're going to enter a pterodactyl land. Alright, so we don't really need any blue eggs anymore, so that's why I don't worry about those too much. Wasting those too much. We're back to Wasteland. Alright. We have a full supply of pretty much everything we need right now. We just gotta be careful with fire eggs. That's why I haven't really been using them that much, because we will really need them a lot during this latter half. Alright. Well, not a lot, but we're gonna need them for two separate, we're gonna need a lot of fire eggs for the 2 spots we will need them. Anyways, we're gonna backflip up to here. Right here is another move. Springy Step Shoes, which lets us spring up really high when we get Springy Step Shoe items, as it's going to show right over there. We only need them right now for... The only reason we really need them is to get up to Quagmire, which leads to Grunny's Industries. We're going to throw up this pole of tight, narrow pathway, grab these notes, and then do what we call a clockwork clip. Throughout the game, as you saw with Grunny GGM early, a lot of these fences aren't very well placed, where there's still kind of gaps in between the fences. If you shoot a clockwork in just the right position, you can actually just shoot clockwork through it. And sometimes, depending on how tight the hole is, it'll either just bounce off a wall, or it'll actually just go through the wall completely, or through the hole completely. And we use that in order to grab a bunch of stuff we're not supposed to yet, in ways we're not supposed to. That Jiggy right there, we refer to it as the T-Rex Jiggy, because what you're supposed to do is transform the T-Rex with Wumba, and go up to that wall, that Jiggy, and then roar at it like 5 or 6 times using a certain code. And that opens up the fence. Alright, so we're gonna grab these note nests here. Using Talon Torpedo because it's faster to use that instead of swimming by a good like 10 seconds or so. And then we're gonna grab this ledge here, and we're gonna learn Taxi Pack, which is a Banjo only move. I was supposed to get a talent right there, but I forgot. Anyways, so the way this move, we need this move just to get in for Grunny's Industries, because we need to open up the path to Weldar. And we need we use this to store the batteries in order to open up doors that help us open up paths to open up the door to Weldar. I know that sounds really confusing, but you'll see later on. It's also helpful for collecting a couple Jiggies using in the Toxic Waste section of Grunny's Industries, so it's definitely worth getting regardless. Anyways, now we're done with this area, we're going to head back down the waterfall and grab our last Jinjo, and then do our first Clockwork Warp. The way Clockworks work is when you shoot a Clockwork, well, first off, we're going to use Talon Torpedo to hit this switch over here on the left, and then we're going to get out of Talon Torpedo, Talon Torpedo, get out of Talon Torpedo immediately, so we can skip that animation, and this just happens to be slightly faster than using Talon Torpedo to get from the switch over to the Jinjo. But the way Clockworks work is when you shoot a Clockwork, that's our last Jinjo, by the way. We don't need any more Jinjos in this category, or this route. So, the way Clockworks works is when you shoot a Clockwork, control goes from Banjo-Kazooie over to the Clockwork. When you take damage, either the Clockwork takes damage, or Banjo-Kazooie takes damage in reasonable distance from the Clockwork explodes. When you go through a loading zone, the whatever is in control at the time will be sent through the loading zone. I was supposed to ground pound there. Whoops. Okay, that was really weird. But by taking damage as you're shooting while going through a loading zone, it ends up getting confused and ends up setting what is last controlled, or it ends up making you sending Banjo through the loading zone, because it tries to remove control from the Clockwork to Banjo-Kazooie while also going through the loading zone at the same time, and that ends up just sending you through the loading zone while even though instead of the Clockwork, I mean. Alright, so here's Terry. We're gonna try to do this thing called Terry 2 Cycle. Hold on 1 second. Alright, so what I was doing there is you shoot grenade away from Terry and then towards Terry, and what'll happen is Terry will take damage from one grenade, but while also... Okay, so like one of the grenades that's facing towards Terry will hit Terry, but because the other explosion is happening while you hit him, it'll do double the damage. So right now he has 10 health. That basically guarantees that this is going to be a 2 cycle. The other possible damage outputs for the first phase is 18 health and then 14 health. The main difference between those are just how many times you can successfully get that double hit. Ideally, you would actually get 14 or 18. The reason being, or during the first phase, the reason being is during 14 and 18 health, he'll only shoot 4 goobs at you, whereas with the 10 health, he'll shoot 5 goobs. So that ends up being slightly slower. We're gonna go watch this cutscene, and then you collect the 2 Jiggies. And then we're going to be traveling across the, a narrow pathway over to Stomping Plains to grab a Jinjo. This is kind of a risky section. I can easily die if I'm not careful. Hopefully I'm not gonna die. But I am gonna be hitting a warp pad, a couple of warp pads, in case I do die. Because otherwise I have to do another clockwork warp just to get to, just to get to the top of the mountain and then just have to climb all around, you know? That would be kind of annoying. Make sure I don't jump, fall off, either. Thank you, camera. Sometimes the camera just gets costlier. I gotta be very careful, because these guys like to home in on you and attack you. And that they will push you off the edge, and that's really annoying. Luckily, they didn't get me that time. Alright, I'm gonna grab this egg nest, because I'm low on grenades. Jump to the side here so I can avoid taking damage from the fire, and then jump over here. I'm gonna hit that guy, because he loves to hit you off the platform there. Take damage off the fire on purpose, because we're gonna get ourselves down to 1 health. It's a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie, just because we are gonna be traversing this entire stomping plane. So what Stomping gonna do is he's gonna try to stomp on us, and if we have more than 1 health, it'll instantly put us down to 1 health, and if we get hit again, we die. We're gonna be death warping after we grab the Jiggy, so by having 1 health now, we can avoid having to get stomped on twice just to be able to death warp out. Though it is kind of scary because we don't want to get hit once. So what you're intended to do is there's about 3 switches on the other side of this. One you're supposed to hit as solo Kazooie, 1 as solo Banjo, and then 1 as Banjo and Kazooie. We only need that Jiggy, which actually is in front of a Banjo-Kazooie switch, conveniently. So we could have just hit the switch and not done an egg barge, but we could also just do an egg barge to grab it, and that's faster than watching the cutscene. The other 2 switches, one has the Jinjo as solo Kazooie, and the other is as solo Banjo. There's a Jiggy behind that, through that tunnel that's on the Hailfire Peak side, but we can actually do a clockwork clip in order to grab that Jiggy once we're in Hailfire Peaks later on. We will see that when the great time comes. We don't need to worry about that right now, but yeah, you would have to like bring Banjo over to the other side and have Snooze Pack in order to get there safely. Alright, so now we're heading to Grunny's Industries. We are not going to be hitting that silo over there on the side at all, because we're not going to be really warping back here, and we're going to be exiting this level afterwards anyways. So what you're supposed to do to enter Grunny's Industries is you're supposed to hit a switch to activate a train station inside of this building, and then use the train to travel over to inside of Grunny's Industries. I think that actually might have worked. Whoops. This is a kind of an annoying shot. We just need to grab this treble clef. We need 545, and this will land us at just enough. But by doing Clockwork Warp, we can get inside the building. Now, a lot of categories, you'll actually see them do Clockwork Warp through that front window, but because of the way we have this area routed, and what we do or don't need to do, we can actually it's actually faster for us to warp through the side door. Set this up here. Main reason being is we're not going to be, unlike most other categories that use Grunny's Industries, we're not actually going to be using the front door, opening up the front door at all. This shot is kind of finicky. Why is it? Okay. I need to test to make sure we're at the right space. It's probably a bad angle, honestly. I'm probably gonna reset up the angle. Sometimes, damn angle just does not want to work with you. It's probably not gonna work either. Of course it worked, but I just messed up the shot. I messed up the egg shot, or I messed up the egg cycle. That's really annoying, actually. Because I cycled one too many eggs. Alright, whatever. We'll get it this time. Really? Come on. See, the egg... Sometimes this damn cursor doesn't want to go the right way. There. It's really not wanting to cooperate today. That's... Alright, there we go. Finally. Sometimes, that's really, like, you're at the mercy of the egg bounce there. So if the egg doesn't want to bounce the right way, you're kind of screwed. You could actually hit the switch that's inside of the doorway to open the door, but it's kind of slower. And usually, with the way I have it set up, it doesn't really screw you over that badly as it did there. Unfortunately, it decided to mess me up today, but what can you do, you know? Alright, so come up here. And we're split up. We need this battery over here as Banjo, so we're gonna come over here. We're also gonna grab these last 3 notes that are surrounding this that split up pad. Take a hit, purpose, hit you. I don't know how that didn't immediately hit you, but whatever. And then we're gonna jump into the pool and death warp, just a slightly bit faster than having to climb up the pole back up to the split up pad. Because we're gonna be going up here and then bringing the battery right over to the electrical magnetic chamber. This is part of the Weldar setup. I don't know why you decided to do that. Another thing that makes this faster going through the side door is the fact that we need to do a lot of stuff with the Weldar setup that involves both the 2nd and 3rd floor, and not so much the 1st floor. Right there, I did a little bit of a slide, or I did a bit of a really tight jump just to get to this last move that we're learning, leg spring. The reason it's tight is because we don't have wing whack, so if we had wing whack it would be much easier, but if you just do a small slide across the platform, it's not too bad of a jump. We only needed leg spring, by the way, to get from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor, because there's no other real way to get to the 3rd floor without using the roof. And to use the roof, we'd have to open up the front door and all that, and that'd be extremely slow. Right now, we're just going to be hitting the warp pad. We're going to come back here in just a bit, but for now, we just want to recombine, so we're going to blow ourselves up. And recombine. We'll be hitting this switch over here, or hitting this grate over here, because we need to get to the warp pad. It's on the other side. And in addition, it's slight. We do need this tunnel opened for later when we're doing the, well, opening up the path to Weldar. So it just happens to work out really well in both cases, for both cases. Alright, so we're gonna jump back here. We do need Entomumbos, but not right now. We still have a couple more things we need to do to set up. Opening the door. Jump up these big boxes. And enter the door that's at the top of these boxes. And inside this boiler plant is a grate with 4 screws on it that we need to build drill. Reason being is that this drops down a mumbo pad. So right there you see there says danger, there's a magnet inside of it. So on the other side you're going to see another cutscene pop up right after we drill these that shows a switch. This switch can only be hit by the be activated using the washing machine, which is the transformation for the stage. You see on the top right over there a big switch. But the thing is, if you try to go over there as the washing machine, the magnet is going to just pull you towards it. So you can't actually hit it with the washing machine until you do something about that magnet. So what you have to do is you have to drop down that mumbo pad, and then bring Mumbo over to the Mumbo pad to jam the magnet temporarily, and then bring the washing machine over to that switch, and that opens up the path to Weldar. So yeah, it's very kind of convoluted, but you know, it's the only way to get into Weldar, and we can't really Clockwork Warp into that doorway, unfortunately. So we just gotta do it like this. So anyways, before we do that, we still need to use Banjo Solo again. We need to use this battery as well as the other one. The reason being is... I had to burp, sorry. We're going to be opening up the pathway to toxic waste, because there's 2 Jiggies in this area. And I've done the math, and it only takes like 52 seconds per Jiggy combined to grab both of these. Or like takes like 1:40 total for both Jiggies, so it's absolutely worth doing. Even if it is, I have to go slightly out of the way here. It also really helps that right after that, I'm going to go straight from here to the trash compactor, which is another Jiggy that I can only do as solo Banjo. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use Snooze Pack. So like what's going to happen is those crushers are going to crush you if you stand on those platforms. So you're expected to use Banjo, take a hit, and then get to safety, and use Snooze Pack to recover your health, and then jump over, take another hit, etc. But by using Pack Whack, you can actually jump drum across the platforms. So we're gonna grab some eggs here. Probably don't need that clockwork, but so I have 1 health here. Make sure I jump across safely. I messed up. We're gonna come back there later and grab it after toxic waste. For now, we're gonna recombine, and then we're going to. So basically, that was a little bit risky. I was trying to do that with 1 health because it would skip having to get stomped twice. And it's similar to how that works is pretty similar to how the Stomping Planes Stomp works, where you have more than 1 health and instantly puts you down to 1 health, and then it will put you down to if you have 1 health, it will just kill you outright. But if I go through that with 1 health, all that with 1 health, that ends up skipping that small smashing cutscene, so that saves a bit of time. Anyways, we're now as Mumbo. We're gonna be dragging him over to the warp pad, or the Mumbo pad. And after jamming the magnet, and yeah, there's nothing else I have to say. You would think maybe we should try death warping after this, but one, it's kind of too slow to be worth it taking damage around here. In addition, I think if I remember correctly, if you try to take death warp during this entire segment, there is a timer that pops up, and if you death warp at any time between this setup, the timer just resets, so you'd have to do this all over again. It seems like that might be a little tight timing, but it's actually I would say this is kind of a stressful segment casually, but because we have everything set up already and we know where to go, we're gonna have more than enough time to get that door open before the time runs out. It especially helps that every time you hit a loading zone, the timer just pauses, or every time you try to hit the warp pad. Alright, now we're done with Mumbo for the rest of the game. Now we're gonna do 1 last transform to the washing machine. Try to get a talent trap here. reason I want to be in Talentrot, or out of Talentrot when I go to throw the Globo into the pool, is because if I have in Talentrot while I talk to her and throw the Globo, it'll like make you sit and watch the Banjo get out of Talentrot and then throw the Globo. It's kind of annoying. So fun fact about washing machine is you can throw undies when you're in this form. Unfortunately, by throwing undies, you end up coming to a complete stop. So I only try to throw undies while I'm going through like loading zones or hitting switches or anytime I have to stop. Anyways, it's kind of annoying the timing, but like whatever. All right. One undies. So as you see, with plenty of time to spare, we hit this magnet, or hit this switch, and this opens up the path to Weldar. Alright, now we go de-transform. Getting through the story is a little bit tight. Not this one, but the next one that's coming up, just because it's a round door. Also, getting onto this platform is apparently tight as well, annoying as well. Alright. Gave Womba a nice fresh pair of undies. As you can tell, she's having the draft right now. I don't know why she's not wearing underwear right now, but that's why Banjo and Kazooie are here to help. Now we're done with that, we're gonna go head down to the first floor. You'd expect us to have to use a warp pad to work down to the first floor at this point, but the warp pad is actually behind the front door, and if we hit the warp pad, we would have to use the front door, or open up the front door, which would be really slow. I'm gonna spring jump up to this pipe. We're gonna do a well-placed clockwork shot in order to grab this Jiggy. This Jiggy is intended to be grabbed. What the hell? Hello? There we go. Anyways, so that Jiggy is intended to be grabbed with Solo Kazooie. So basically, what you would do is bring Solo Kazooie over to the through a door on the top of the through the front door window. And then glide over there. And then fight a bunch of Tin Tops. But by shooting Clockwork right at that Jiggy while it's standing up, you can avoid that whole sequence. We're gonna do a gold feather dive. So this toxic waste is gonna try to take damage us once we go into the water. But if we Clockwork dive and then immediately start swimming in Talent Trot or go into Talent Torpedo, it's just enough time to get us out of avoid the damage that it takes, and then once it tries to hit you once, it's not going to try to hit you again. So right here, this hitbox is really weird with this Jiggy. So what I'm trying to do is position myself. If you position yourself just the right way, zoom in, and then swim forward, you can grab the Jiggy from the other side of the fence. And we're going to do one more egg barge here. Messed it up, apparently. Next hitbox. And then we're going to exit the toxic waste. We would immediately go to Weldar right after this, but okay. Let's see if we still get this. Alright. But I still have to get the trash compactor Jiggy, unfortunately. Because I died on the way to trash compactor last time, which is really annoying. But we're gonna get this get this Jiggy and then move on. Oh, I was supposed to take damage on purpose once, I forgot. Even though I got it fine just that time. That's kind of annoying, but whatever. Anyways, Jiggy's grabbed. Now we're gonna go fight Weldar. Before we go fight Weldar, we have one last Jiggy we are gonna grab as well. Using a trick we call the Weldar skip. Now, with Weldar skip, normally you're supposed to fight Weldar, and then climb up the ladder, and then run across a pole, because there's a doorway on the... let me position this just right. Let's see. I think that's right. No. That correct? Yeah. Where the Jiggy is housed, but by shooting a cork through this ladder in just the right position... Really not wanting to operate this position here, huh? You can get the clockwork without doing all that. So now that we've got Weldar skipped down, then now we're gonna go fight Weldar. Believe it or not, even though we do open that door and pathway anyways, it's still faster to just do Weldar skip, because there's a long ladder you'd have to climb upwards in order to get to Weldar. Probably don't need it, but we're gonna play it safe. Alright, fall down. Gonna immediately activate the cutscene once we hit the ground, so we don't actually take damage, luckily. And now we got Weldar. So this is a 6-phase fight. Along with a pretty long cutscene. Its funny fact is this isn't even done in fight. It's even done 100% anymore, because you just skip it entirely thanks to Weldar skip. But because this is all bosses, you have to fight all the bosses. So that means we do fight Weldar no matter what, because otherwise it wouldn't be all bosses. Alright, so for the first phase, he's going to shoot about like 4 or 5 lasers at us, and then after every phase, he's going to try to suck us up. So what we do is go into first-person mode, shoot a fire egg into his mouth. Very important that we go in first-person mode, because not only will it easiest let us hit these guys during the phases, but it's also faster, or like for some reason the hitbox, like the distance you shoot the eggs at is longer when you use first-person mode. So he's gonna try to stomp on us, and after the first jump, you take damage because he's gonna try to jump around, jump up and get down. But by doing that, you stop. Once you get hit once, he stops like trying to jump around and just try to jump in the middle. I think it's 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, whoops, it's 8. The second phase. I keep forgetting. Fun thing about this, when he sucks you up. Oh, so the second half is just the same phases as the first, but you just have the laser fence to worry about. I gotta be careful. I need more fire eggs, probably. Actually, no, I just need one more grenade egg. Oh, good. Alright, so the last hit we're gonna actually be doing... Oh, can I get hit by you, please? Thank you. Oh my god. The reason why we want to be in have grenade eggs last is just because we're gonna be killing ourselves after. So funny thing is, when he's like trying to turn around at that, if you just shoot at the middle, the hitbox just thinks you're shooting into his mouth anyway, so you don't have to wait until he's facing you, which is nice. Alright, so we're just gonna, once this cutscene stops, we're gonna blow ourselves up by shooting into his mouth and then exit the area. And then we're gonna be doing what people would refer as the hardest, I would refer to as the hardest trick in this game. It's called, wait, what is it called? Shit. It's called 55 door skip / Cold and Keep Early. So the reason why I say this is the hardest trick is because the positioning for getting this trick is really finicky. Before we do that, though, we need to get onto this pole. And we're going to be doing what's called PTS. Basically, if you shoot a clockwork at a pole while taking damage, it'll just launch you straight up into the pole like so. PTS stands for Pidgey Teleportation Special. There's another really obnoxious name that the community gave it to it as well as the joke, but I completely forget it off the top of my head. I apologize. Okay, and I got that first try. That, believe it or not, that is not as easy as I made it look. The positioning is very finicky. You have to believe me, please. I beg of you. So the only reason we need to do that is in order to get up here, because we need to fight Klungo 3. And you need to open up. Now that we did that, we're gonna go open up the door here by splitting up and hitting the switches. But yeah, that trick could take up to like multiple minutes to get, because you have to like make sure you're positioned in the right position on the pole, and then you have to jam yourself up the pole and then ground pound in just the right way. Anyway, so about this fence here, you're supposed to go into the back of the Cauldron Keep and hit it, and hit the switch there so you can skip that fence as well, or the laser fence, but you can just jump through the hole, so you can skip that whole shebang. Alright, so now we have the last Klungo to fight. We had blue and red for our first or second phases was red and then blue. So now we're gonna fight the green potion Klungo, where he just runs around invisible. This will go by pretty quick. This click will go by really quick, because you can just hit him really immediately, basically. Only thing is his throw aim is really good with the vials now, so I'm supposed to be using Rat-a-tat-rap to hit them much easier. Alright. Now once that fight's done, we're just gonna reset once the cutscene stops. So there's gonna be cutscene playing him exiting because he's quitting his job to go make games. Like the best Banjo game ever made, Klungo Saves the Universe and World is the prequel to that. And then once the cutscene shows them outside of Klungo, or him outside of that area, then you reset, and because it auto saves once he runs outside. That's what I mean. All right, so now we're gonna go enter Hailfire Peaks. We're gonna open up Hailfire Peaks first, but then we're gonna open up Hailfire Peaks. This is what I would call. I would refer to I would say this is the hardest level in the game. Any category that does it, you're in for a difficult time. It's usually one of the shortest levels in the run, or if not the shortest, but it's also the hardest. The reason it's the shortest is because there's so many tricks that you can do to skip a lot of the stuff, but a lot of the tricks that you do are just really difficult. So, yeah, wish me luck. Yay. I am decently practiced in all of them, so I hopefully won't do too bad, but we'll see. You can easily lose minutes in this section if you're not careful. And I can and have lost multiple minutes in this section. Alright. Well, no, this is the second to last puzzle, but we still have to do this puzzle before we enter Hailfire Peaks. Fun fact, actually, I've looked into there is a trick called Hailfire Peaks Early, where you can actually enter Hailfire Peaks before you even open it. We'd still have to open up Hailfire Peaks regardless, but it would avoid having to enter Hailfire Peaks through Clifftop and avoid having to hit that switch in general. The issue is, though, that the setup for Hailfire Peaks opening Hailfire Peaks is so slow that it ends up not being worthwhile. It ends up not being worthwhile to do that trick. And it's also really hard too. Like, you have to go through Stomping Plains, and then you have to use the solo banjo switch I was mentioning earlier in Stomping Plains, and then do this really awkward timing just to get in. Alright. Alright, so now we're back in the file. We're gonna go enter warp to Clifftop. Just look at my egg count. I'm kind of low on fire and ice eggs right now. A lot lower than I'd like to be. Ice eggs, not too big of a deal. Fire eggs are the bigger problem right now. We're a little low on clockworks too, but we will be collecting at least 4 clockworks during the course of this level, so I'm just gonna have to be fairly careful. There are 2 chili fights, boss fights. Unlike every other level in this game, there are 2 boss fights. One for each side of Hellfire Peaks, Lava and Ice Egg. For the beginning of this level, we're gonna be... we have to wait a minute, like a good minute or so, because Chili Willy is going to be we have to wait for Chili Billy to shoot his boulders at us. So what's gonna happen is when he shoots at us, he's gonna break. We're gonna head over to near that platform over there, or that building over there, and when he shoots his egg stuff at us, he's gonna break that building down. As soon as this cutscene hits, there we go. And then we're gonna be able to use this flight pad in order to get over to him. Alright. I'm gonna do myself a favor and grab myself some fire eggs out of safety. We need ice eggs for this section to shoot in the cannons, but we need fire eggs more than ice eggs for the second half. So basically, both fights work pretty similarly. You just shoot eggs into the dragon before they go down, or before the eggs or the cannons to go down. Like, you shoot the eggs into the cannon before they go down. During the first phase, I knew that would happen. Okay, it's fine. We'll just fly up there again. Okay, so as I was saying, you shoot eggs into the dragon. I'll wait, because I really want to make sure I have a good amount of fire eggs for the second phase. You shoot the eggs into the cannon, which hits the dragon, and once you hit the dragon, after a certain amount of phases or shots, you hit the dragon. Sorry, give me one moment. So after you shoot him out and stuff, phase or do a certain amount of damage to the dragon, the things will go back down, and then you'll have to wait until he sticks his tongue at you for a minute, and then the cannons will come back up. During this fight, you only have to hit him 6 times. The only annoying thing is that for this phase, you can only hit him 2 times per cannon, or per phase, before you can hit him again. But you also only need to do 6 damage for him to stay down. And his tongue goes a lot slower. The next phase, we have to hit him 12 for 12 health. And this tongue will be much faster. But on the bright side, you will be able to shoot 3 eggs per cannon. So, that is a benefit. Although there is a bright side to that, I mean. Alright, so now we're done. You don't get a Jiggy from this guy. You don't get a Jiggy from one fight. The only thing is, from one brother, you have to fight both brothers in order to get a Jiggy. So it's pretty slow of a Jiggy, but obviously we need to fight them for all bosses. So we might as well get the Jiggy while we're here, while we're doing it. Oh, whoops. I did not need to get into Talent Trot. Alright. So now we're Solo Kazooie. We go down here. Didn't mean to take that hit, but it's fine. We actually go into there for the volcano to get the Jiggy that's inside the volcano, but we're gonna actually put that off for now. The only reason I put it off was gonna put this part off originally is because I wanted to go through here 2 health, and just so I can take damage off of the lava. It's slightly faster than having to run all the way around the outer edge. We're doing a trick here called Split Up Skip. What you're intended to do is hit a bunch of split up pads along the side of this wall. And that end up opening up a series of doors that end up opening up that door where the Jiggy was, but by shooting this clockwork through that corner there, and then just having that clockwork, there's a little platform behind the wall, weirdly enough, and what you can do is use that platform to jump over to the Jiggy, which ends up skipping the whole split up shenanigans. It's known as the split up skip slip clip. There is another trick that's just split up skip that we used to do, but it's actually much slower, or it's actually some good like 30-40 seconds slower. I don't remember exactly how much slower, where you would like grab the ledge of a lava pool and then clip into a certain wall, and then slide along that edge, and then just drop down to the Jiggy as BK, but this way is faster for this category. And I think for pretty much every category that you'd have to do that trick in. Either way, they're both much faster than the intended method of hitting a bunch of switches through doors anyways. Alright, so this you just hit switches, and then grab the next switch will be a Jiggy. And grab the Jiggy and then Death Warp out. Alright, take damage off of you and take damage off of the lava. There was a pathway that leads to another Jinjo, but we don't need that Jinjo, so it's not worth going out of the way to get. Alright, so now we're gonna do what we call the Pack Wax skip, or I'm sorry, Shack Pack skip. You're supposed to use Shack Pack to get into this pool, but if you just slide, which is a move that like puts the bag over Banjo solo, but if you just slide into here in the right time, so you slide into so far in just the right timing, so that the game thinks you're swimming, but you also poop a clockwork while you're quote-unquote swimming. And what that lets you do, is game still thinks I'm swimming right now. The hot water will make me take damage if I try to blow myself up before I hit this loading zone, but if I just drag a clockwork Kazooie egg through the loading zone, the game will just forget that I'm supposed to take damage. And I just use that trick to get this fish. We could grab the Jinjo as well, but we don't need that Jinjo right now. We do need the fish for a later Jiggy in order to feed Boggy. Alright, so we got one more clockwork. We got another clockwork clip right here. We have 2 more clockwork clips, but you'll see the other one later. This is the ice wall. I mentioned earlier that we skipped this switch in Pterodactyl Land so we don't have to collect this Jiggy, or we don't have to hit the switch in order to run in here and collect the Jiggy. We can use the clockwork clip to grab that. Now we're doing a trick called Chili Willy early. We have to get the Chili Willy, but we need Claw Climber boots. We're supposed to have Claw Climber boots to get up there, but if we use his boulders that he's going to shoot at us... Hold on. It's kind of tricky timing. There we go. You can boost yourself up just enough where you can get up to the top of the ledge, and that skips having to learn I was trying to get fire eggs there. It skips having to learn the claw climber boots, and also the claw climber boots are really far out of the way, like annoyingly so, and you have to wait for him to shoot boulders at something that's guarding there's an enemy called the Bigfoot that's guarding the shoes anyways, and you can't actually hit him until you can't actually get him out of the way until the Chili Willy actually hits him with a boulder. Alright. I just want to be careful, make sure I don't get hit here. Use a golden feather just in case. Not trying to die here just yet. Or at all, actually. This last cannon. Yeah, as you saw there, his shots are a lot more accurate than the last guy's was. Although the last guy was pretty accurate, he did kill me the first time, so yeah. Alright, grab this Jiggy, and then we head out of here. We're not done yet with Icy Side, though. We still got a couple more Jiggies left to collect. Slide down here. Take damage off of this guy. And we're going to head to Boggy's Igloo. Now, the reason we want to do this, there's two Jiggies we want to collect. One, we're going to feed Boggy, but we're not going to do that just yet. There's another Jiggy. You see that Jiggy right over there? That that we call the Ice Train Jiggy. You're intended to use the train station on Icy Train in order to grab that Jiggy. And to get there, you would have to bring the train over to Fireside, which you'd have to, first of all, you'd have to free Gobi. You'd have to free Gobi, and he'll go over to Fireside, and you have to bring the train station over to Fireside. The problem is, it cools down, it overheats, so you can't move it. So you have to use Gobi in order to cool down the train. And then you'd have to bring the train from Fireside to Icy Side and then run all the way there. But we can just do a clockwork clip in order to avoid doing all that shenanigans, which is really nice. Just feed Boggy right here. He barfs out a Jiggy towards us. Grab the Jiggy. Lower stuff up. Okay. Try Death Warping again. I don't know what happened there. Alright, so now we're done with Hailfire Peaks. We just have to open up Cloud Cuckoo Land. Now we have 45 Jiggies. And then we go to Cloud Cuckoo Land, fight Mini Django, and then that's all bosses. Hooray! So, fun thing about this part of the run is the last part of the run is actually also majorly relies on RNG to get good time. We can easily lose time to RNG. Reason being is, in every stage there is a Mumbo hut, where, you know, Mumbo's residing in. Except for Cloud Cuckoo Land. Cloud Cuckoo Land has two huts. One of them will have the real Mumbo, which we don't want to talk to, and the other will have Minji Django, the fake Mumbo, which we do want to fight. Which Mumbo hut will have which character is completely random, and I can easily lose 30-40 seconds just because Mumbo wasn't inside of the right hut. We're hoping he will be in the blue hut, because that's the one that's closest to us. but hoping and actually getting are two completely different things. In addition, the way we get to Mumbo Hut in this category is just by using the springy step shoes to get to him, or get to where the house is. We are trying to get into the blue Mumbo house. We're hoping he will be in the blue Mumbo house. Now, the springy step shoes are hiding under a bunch of dirt patches that are right in front of the pathway to Central Cavern. And the dirt patches house a number of different things, including beans, which are items used only in Cloud Cuckoo Land, anti-humming combs, which we use to get more health, eggs, feather, and health. Which patch has which item is just completely random. We're hoping that the shoes will be in the top right corner. I do have a picture of all possible a bunch of possible combinations if there is not shoes under the top right patch. But we're just hoping we can lose like a good number of seconds. It's not nearly as bad as I make it out to be. It's like only a few seconds time loss, but it's still a time loss, and I want to avoid that if possible. But we'll see what happens. It's funny because this trick to get to the blue Mumbo house only saves like 5 seconds or so, or we're just entering Central Cavern and then entering the door to blue Mumbo house. But it looks cooler and it feels cooler to do, so I just like to go for it regardless. Alright. It's a shame we don't do much in Cloud Cuckoo Land, because this is actually always my favorite world as a kid. But anyways, wish me luck here. Are you going to be the shoes that we need? Nope, you're a bean. So bean, that means the shoes will be either in this patch or the patch on the other side. Hey, we got the patch. Is it edible? No. We spring jump over here, flap over here, ground pound right there, and now we're gonna head to the blue house. We will immediately know once we enter if the blue house this is the house with Minji, because you see the top right corner, or bottom right corner, there will be a counter if this is where Mumbo is. So we didn't see a counter, so luckily we are actually at Mumbo's hut, or Minji's hut. We're going to be doing a quick kill here, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the grenade eggs and shoot at Mumbo, Minji, and then poop right after we shoot at him. And that'll stall him long enough so we can use Wonder Wing on his wand. We want to use Wonder Wing on his wand, because this will lock him into position, so he doesn't take enough damage, or he doesn't have enough invincibility frames to be able to warp out of that when you hit him with the wand for some reason. So by just Wonder Winging his wand, he will not move. But anyways, that is Banjo-Tooie All Bosses in under 2.5 hours. That was a pretty decent run, except for the fact that I died. That is what the route looks like. Aside from dying to on the way to Trash Compactor, that was a pretty decent run. If anyone's interested in running the category, I've done beyond extensive research and timing for all possible routes. I'm not finished routing timings yet, or all possible pattern combinations yet, but I have done extensive timing routing for each specific pattern. The reason I say I'm not done yet, though, is just because I haven't timed anything. Most of the timings I've done are before Blue Glitch Mine earlier was found, so I need to rework some of the timings for other patterns with that new trick in mind. But otherwise, I did a lot of work in this routing, and this is, from what I see, is probably the best route for what we can and can't get. But if you are interested in learning this game, or learning the tricks in this game, or learning the route, I will provide a bunch of links for resources in the description below. I'm going to be putting this up on YouTube and then doing a premiere on Twitch, but I will be having up this, if you're watching the premiere on Twitch, just check the YouTube link later on, or I might have it in my description below. But like, I have a lot of resources I am still actively, as I'm saying this, I am still actively running this category. I will be looking into other patterns sometime in the future, like the route for other patterns, to determine whether or not this is the fastest pattern or not. But if you enjoyed what you'll see, just come by, swing on by, contact me, whatever you want. We also have a Banjo-Tooie speedrunning Discord, or for all the Banjo games, actually, where you can talk to other runners of this game and maybe be interested in other categories or other games as well. I also run a bunch of games like Banjo-Kazooie, other games like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Sonic CD, Smash 64s, Kirby, like a lot of other games. They're all in probably my speedrun.com profile or in my video section of my Twitch VOD. But if you enjoy any of that and you enjoyed my stream, be sure to follow me on Twitch, or don't. I don't care. I don't know. Whatever, I try to stream somewhat regularly. I try to take things a little more casually as well, but I will be doing still do speedrunning as well as casual stuff. But anyways, this is it for now. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream run. Bye.